All right, let's go over BEPRO, Polk, and Polkadex. Before we get going, go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you're returning. And if you're new, here is what my channel does for you. I help you practice by doing, especially if you were to go over and check out the Patreon, Discord community links in the description section. You can see exact examples. We are really rocking and rolling. I give exact signals, exact entries, particular to the higher two tiers, and I help you break that comfort or that discomfort that you have clicking around, especially when it comes to selling, because most new people, you're scared to sell. So you're watching your assets go all the way up, then all the way down, because you're a buyer in prayer and not a profit pimp. And I try to convert folks to profit pimp status by practicing, by doing with small portions of their crypto that they have, so they can practice first before the real big game when altcoin season's rocking and rolling. So new folks, if you like this by the end of the video, then go ahead and hit subscribe, hit that bell, stay in the know, and come check us out on Patreon, Discord. Let's jump into it. This is BEPRO. So BEPRO hit the bottom, or the sell target that we were thinking of, and with the idea that it could have wicked up to here, to this line, this gray line here. Could have easily done it. It hasn't done it yet. It looks like it's going to want to hit what line? Raise your hand. What line? So I'm on the 1 hour chart. Okay. Let's make this a little easier. If history comes even close to repeating itself, what do you think is going to happen next? It's going to hit this orange line, and you have this this origin line here at the same time. Might get a really nice bounce off this. Really nice bounce, and that could easily take BEPRO up to the top of the line around 1.6 cents. Easily, especially with Bitcoin doing what it's doing right now. So BEPRO is still doing the exact same thing, following the exact same type of rules, and we had been saying, hey, how far above? About 20% each time you get it. Somewhere above 20% above where you get it, 20 to 25. I think I said maybe 20 to 25%. And what happened? It hit it. Oh, 28%. But we had that exact line there as the target. So yeah, it's probably gonna hit this line. And this next pump actually might be bigger. So the next one, I would go for a horizontal as opposed to a if you're practicing buying and selling with this. And again, for newer folks, it's not taking, so if you have 100,000 BEPRO or whatever the case, it doesn't mean sell 100,000 BEPRO at the line. It means like 10, which is called a 10 bag. It's 10%. Use that 10%, or a 20 bag for 20%. Use that to sell and then buy lower, so you get more BEPRO and more crypto using other people's money, and not use your hard-earned money. Right? And not risking selling all at one level, all your 100,000 BEPRO for it to take off, right? So sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly, and you have to wait a while for it to come back down, which is better to not have sold all your BEPRO. It's a hybrid of a HODL and a trading, it's like 80% HODL, 20% trading type of strategy that we use within the community, right? It's called 20 bag. I think in my library videos, if you go to the playlist, new folks, I think it says 10 bag on it, but you can just change the number to 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever the case, if you're super confident that line will have a big bounce. But typically when you're trading bounces like this, 10 to 20 bags is what you want to do. And if it hits a major origin line, that's when you up it to 50, something to that effect. So, and again, BEPRO, I've been telling you, this looks like the perfect asset to practice buying and selling. That and Silo. I hope you've all been trying to do it. And the next time this comes down here, and you're holding Tether, and maybe you don't even want a lot of BEPRO, doesn't matter. But this would be a great practice to pick that up and then just put in limit sell somewhere above 1.5 cents in case it stops a little shy of this line, something to that effect. And that would be a nice trade, right? $100 would turn into $140. $1,000 would turn into $1,400, and that all can happen within a couple days. $400 in a couple days off one trade. I mean, if you were to do $1,000, for example, not financial advice. I'm not suggesting buying anything, but rather practicing Pokemon card trading based off this orange line. That's it. So BEPRO is looking pretty good. I've already made a recent video about, on a weekly scale, I think BEPRO could heat up pretty fast. It's been very volatile. I think volatility will continue to the upside, and this might rival all-time highs. I mean, as soon as early November, this could really start heating up, folks. So BEPRO, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term is looking, honestly, it's looking really healthy, really awesome. It's looking fantastic. So because BEPRO's been so volatile, just, up, down, I don't think it needs, I honestly anticipate it won't consolidate for many weekly candles, if any. I really suspect that week, something to this effect, straight up to like, maybe even this line for the next 4 weeks. I think it's just going to continue being volatile. Now, is that preferred? Well, actually, if you're trading, yes. If you're buying and selling, you want volatility. Volatility equals profitability. But if you want to have a sustainable, like really big pop, it would be better if it hung out here. I'm not going to lie, but I personally don't think it will. And a couple of videos ago on BEPRO, I gave all those reasons why. So let's move on to Polk. So Polk, for example, in the same type of box, right? Similar to how BEPRO had, it has hung out. So this will be allowed to have a much more sustainable pop that when it pops, it doesn't have to crash back down and test like really deep EMAs. It could pop, consolidate high and strong and pop again once or twice. So this could get, several pops, hang out, boom, 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 hang out. Like this could really do something super significant the rest of the bull run. Now, with BEPRO though, volatility, I would actually prefer that because I can get more BEPRO that way. In the end, most altcoins are going to pop hard at the end anyway of a bull run, assuming the cycle behaves similarly with altcoins where they all pop at once. So it's just a different type of pop. But so I think Polk and BEPRO are going to live very different lives throughout the rest of the bull run based off the idea that one consolidated during this time and the other stayed volatile, which if the trend continues, BEPRO will remain volatile, which is personally what I like best. And Polk though will likely have pops, consolidate without much volatility, pop, consolidate without much volatility, stuff to that effect. All right, so let's so really we are pretty much all Polk fans. We're waiting for a closure above these weekly candles right here, and that is coming in right at 61.35. So if this week, and I kind of doubt this week's going to close above it, but I mean honestly, with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, it could. So I would have 3 ideas for Polk. One, you during the week before Monday or before the candle closes, come above, close below. Depending on what Bitcoin does, maybe retest the week after, then close above, and then the first week of November really. So you're gonna have to watch my Bitcoin video where I am very specific with the next 4 weekly candles, 3 different scenarios that I think can play out, right? So depending on what Bitcoin does, honestly, Polk might behave identically. So imagine this is Bitcoin 60K line. Okay, that is Polk's line. So those 3 scenarios that I gave in my Bitcoin analysis, I bet Polk follows that. Like whatever Bitcoin does, I bet that's what Polk does. So you might want to watch my Bitcoin video that I just released today, Friday, October 15th. Essentially 3 scenarios. It comes wicks above, closes below, consolidates the next week, and then pops. Or instead of popping, then you get a small green candle that just squeaks above, which is the last week of October, and then your pop. Something to that effect I could see easily happening. I would guess one of those 2 scenarios are like my top 2. It's essentially the same scenario, just one has an extra week in here and one doesn't, right? Either you consolidate, then pop, or consolidate, barely close above, then pop, would be my guess. Or for another scenario, it does close above and then it races. That would be awesome. That would be Bitcoin staying healthy, not crashing below. Honestly, that would be the Bitcoin short squeeze. So this could easily happen. This week could close above, next week just takes off. With Bitcoin short squeeze means going to the upside, right? People who are taking shorts at key levels are getting screwed because price keeps going up and just squeezing the crap out of them. So that would be my number 2/3 situation. Situation number 4 is Polk outperforms Bitcoin just a little bit, closes above, although Bitcoin doesn't close above its 60K line. And then kind of like MTV has done, it comes back down, consolidates on the line and then blast up. So those would be my top 3 scenarios for Polk. Let's go over to PDEX, see what it's doing. So also, and unlike BEPRO, so these 2 coins are very unlike BEPRO. They have both consolidated. So I would expect when PDEX finally consolidates, it doesn't have to dive back down for a 50%, 60% correction, hit, really deep EMAs. I think it could just pop, flag out a little bit for, 2 to 3 weeks, pop again, flag out for a couple weeks, pop again, so on and so forth for maybe 2 to 3 pops on the weekly scale. Which would take it quite a long way. So you have a very similar weekly line. It's all about the weekly versus Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin, so this is essentially like Bitcoin 60K line, but this is a little lower. So this has got some makeup to do, right? So here in a couple days, if you see Polk close above this line, the next week would classically be allowed to hang out. But because it's coming from so low, I would say that it would be the next week's candle, best case, that closes above $24.50 or 24.30, this line right here. And then you have a nice pop, assuming Bitcoin isn't crashing or doing something crazy. So I think it's going to be the week of October 25th. That is the earliest that PDEX can really fly up and start, rivaling $40 and all that kind of stuff up in here. The week of October 25th would be the earliest because it's coming from so far below. This week could close above and that would be just fine. But because it's coming from so far low, that would increase the chances of a fake out. And it comes back down, consolidates, and then takes off again the first week of November. So those are the 3 ways that I could see price going down for PDEX. However, just know that in the Polkadot sphere, PDEX and Polkamarkets and PDEX are part of that, and it's getting ready to have a big release. So if there is a catalyst that allows PDEX to come close above here on this very week, there are big announcements within the Polkasphere to which could help PDEX's case. So that it honestly could happen. So I'm not saying this is a what if, but I am saying from a traditional trading standpoint, it's a little bit less likely, but there is something big happening with Polkadot and releases, with Moonbeam and all that kind of stuff. So it could make everything connected to Polkadot really race off more than what traditional, candlesticks and trading would indicate. So definitely keep that in mind if you're a fan of PDEX and Polk, and really BEPRO as well. So yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's get this crypto. Hit like if you haven't yet, and if you're new, go ahead and hit. And you liked what you saw. If you didn't like what you saw, you just hit thumbs down and get the hell out of here. Peacefully, leave me a comment. Hey man, you suck or whatever. But leave me a quick comment to help out the algo, and feel free to check out the links in the description section. We'll see you next time.